Yo, what is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to round 3 of my locals Heart of the Underdog Rogue Tournament. Here we have Speedroids on the left, piloted by yours truly, versus my friend Dan on the right, playing Phantom Knight Burning Abyss. We did use a custom ban list in addition to the current ban list, basically just an add-on to the current ban list of certain archetypes and individual cards that could not be played, obviously, to help promote the viability of other rogue decks, less powerful decks, and help to get rid of some more of the unfun slash uninteractive cards in the game. You know, things like Anti-Spell, Floodgates like Rivalry, TC Boot Goes, and etc. etc. Now, the list definitely wasn't perfect. I think there are definitely some things on there that maybe shouldn't have been on there, and some cards that weren't on there that should have been on there. But, you know, this is a list that will be fine-tuning as we do more of these in the future. And I hope you guys are enjoying a little bit of a break from the current format, which we'll be getting back to next week. So yeah, don't worry about that. But yeah, we have Speedroids versus Phantom Knight Burning Abyss, which I realize is a matchup that I've covered quite a bit actually on the channel. Earlier this year, me and my friend Dan used to run a lot of these matchups. Obviously, things very different now for each of our decks. Auroradon being banned and our Rusty Bardiche not being legal for this particular tournament, but he's still making it work here, obviously, with his own particular variant. Going into Leviair now, activating Leviair, detaching the Seer, bringing back the Boots, and then using the Seer to bring back the Graph in the graveyard, and then going ahead and overlaying both the Boots and the Graph into Dante, activating Dante effect here, detaching the Boots, and I believe he goes ahead and mills 3. And anything milled here is basically just going to be a bonus. There's Rhoda and Infernal Knight Renault. So you can probably tell that he's playing the Sold package, which was very popular in this deck many moons ago. But also using, again, these Xyz monsters as stepping stones for Utopic Future and Utopic Draco, which we saw make an appearance in the, I think it was the round 1 feature? Yeah, the round 1 feature, which was Utopic Zexal versus Cyber Dragons. If you guys want to check that out, it is on the channel, as well as the round 2 matchup, which was Dark World versus Pure Mech Knight. So another interesting matchup there for you guys as well. So we're going to see him use, you know, the cloak and stuff. And Boots to get the Fogblade search earlier on, and he has the Ash in hand, which we can see at various points. He also has Utopic Draco. Now, looking at my hand is not very good, especially knowing that my opponent has Ash. So I lead by Imperm the Utopic Draco, because that card is a pain to deal with most of the time, just because it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. I use Wheel, discarding Duke, which normally would be a pretty good setup here, but he does have the Ash Blossom, and I'm thinking, you know, I definitely still have plays to make here for sure. But the biggest issue is that, you know, I know there's a Fogblade in the back line, and there's really just not much I can do here to begin with. I mean, maybe I could have baited my opponent a little bit better. Maybe if I went, like, you know, recovery out the Duke, activate Card Turbo in hand, and then, you know, psych my opponent out by using the effective additional normal right off the bat, thinking he'll Fogblade it, and then he Fogblades it. Well, I guess that doesn't work because Fogblade has that clause on it that makes it so you cannot attack. Yeah, that's rough. Because, I mean, at that point, I guess I could have used Duke to bring out the car, made another rubber band shooter, used the effect again, and then use my regular normal summon. Yeah, I think I definitely could have done that. So that was a misplay on my behalf there for sure. But my opponent is going to go ahead and go into Break Sword, activate Break Sword effect, targeting itself, and the rubber band shooter, and obviously the Break Sword will not be destroyed because of Cherubini's continuous like effect. This is whatever it points to, cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then we're going to see him use the Cloak in the Grave, or no, using Cherubini here rather, going ahead and dumping the gloves, using the Fogblade to bring out the gloves, and then Torn Scales effect to bring itself out, go for another Break Sword. And that is just going to be game right there. I've seen enough. But yeah, looking back now, I didn't even see that before now that I commentate over this, but I think that was definitely a play that I could have done there for sure. It would have burned through a lot of resources really quickly, but I would have definitely been able to make a play regardless. Well, good to know for the future, right? So here in game 2, I will be going first. I do start with Terror Top just because I'm nice with it, right? So we're going to go Terror Top effect. Search out Tekatomborg, normal summon Marble Machine, activate Marble Machine, go ahead and search out the card. Now, Nibiru is banned for this particular tournament, which I think is, like, pretty fair for a Rogue tournament, because Nibiru kind of crushes a lot of Rogue decks at the end of the day. I think Appaloosa is another card that we should have had banned too, for sure. That's basically just an extra deck floodgate. But I do want to go into a Crystal Wing before I commit to Rubber Band Shooter, because I want to be able to have some sort of protection for Rubber Band Shooter. Now if my opponent has Imperm, that's one thing. But I don't want to like tunnel vision into a Rubber Band Shooter and miss out on a potential interruption first. So we kind of do like what would be set up for a double Crystal Wing play, but we just, you know, get the Crystal Wing on board. We have a Speed Recovery here. That's going to bring out the Car Turbo, kind of save the Duke engraved for a later play. Then we use Hagoita's effect to bring itself out here while we control a Speedroid tuner, then link 2 with the Terratop and the Car Turbo into the Rubber Band Shooter. Now I already have a good additional normal summon in hand, so I wasn't going to use the effect here, you know, to banish and search. I just go ahead and normal summon Hound, activate its effect here to go ahead and send a Speedroid card from deck to grave, and we send the Fukimadoshi Piper to the graveyard. And now we can activate the Duke engrave if we so desire. And I think I might, I can't tell if that's not a, I think that might be another Speed Recovery in my hand. And also, one other thing I can point out in this particular matchup too is that Hagoita is a really good interruption on its own here. Yeah, so we just opened up all gas with this opening hand. So we go ahead and use the Piper to go ahead and excavate 4. And we reveal Gravity Collapse, which is a pretty funny card that I ended up siding here for going first. Basically, tribute a Synchro when your opponent summons a monster, and then you negate the summon, and then your opponent cannot summon a monster until the end phase. Yeah, pretty broken card, but, you know, pretty specific card as well. I think I definitely missequenced that. I should have used the Duke to bring out the Car Turbo first, make Charge Warrior, and then Recovery out the Piper so I could draw first, then Excavate 4. I could have digged one card deeper there off the Piper, but either way, we still get into, you know, Charge Warrior, draw a card, into Baron with the Piper and the Charge Warrior. And it looks like I drew a Nian. Not the best draw here, but, you know, it is something. And my opponent is going to draw for turn. He has E-Telly, Ghost Ogre in hand. I don't know if that's the only E-Telly target in hand. It probably isn't. And I think I see Forbidden Droplet as well. But the unfortunate thing for him here is that he does not have a way to clear the back row before he can commit anything to the field right now. He just needed Lightning Storm with that Droplet because he could have gone Lightning Storm. I could go negate with Baron. He goes Chain Droplet, and then he's able to get in there and play. But he did not see it, so yeah, Gravity Collapse kind of sealing the deal there. But yeah, I mean, you could argue Gravity Collapse is a card that could have been banned alongside so many other things like Harpy's Feather Storm, which probably should have been banned, but, you know, only certain obscure plays. Like I for a moment was siding Harpy's Feather Storm in my deck list because I was siding into Totem Bird, or I could have made Hraesvelgr the Despot Doom Eagle, or I could have made Cyber Slash Harpy. But, you know, very specific boards that require, you know, these cards to be able to work. So I think they were fine in hindsight, even though it did win me. I think this is the only game I resolved Gravity Collapse to. But either way, my opponent is going to get into classic 2 level 3 plays into Leviair. Very similar play to what we saw there in game 2. And then, you know, obviously detaching the Seer, that's going to bring back the Graph. Special Summoning Boots since he controls a PK. And from here, he's going to go ahead and overlay. I believe he goes for another rank 3 here. I think he goes for Dante, and he does not opt to detach. Also has Forbidden Droplet in hand here, too. And the Fog Blade that was searched off of the boots. It goes for Dante. And I don't think he uses the Dante effect here. So opting not to mill anything. Might want to have a certain card left in deck for later on or next turn. So it sets, or it's not Fog Blade, it's Shade Brigandine. Activate Shade Brigandine. And special summon that, goes for a Soul. And I think, yeah, this is why he ended up not milling off the Dante. So he could make sure the Renault and the Living Fossil are still in the deck. So that'll go ahead and add the Torn Scales. And then the other effective Isolde. Dumping one equip spell to add their special summon the Renault effect to add back the equip spell, and just setting up for an Appaloosa here alongside some really good follow-up in the form of the Torn Scales and the Living Fossil to be able to bring back a body for free, just basically searching out Monster Reborn. Goes to the Appaloosa with 3 materials, so has the Appaloosa for 3, has the Utopic Draco, has the Droplet, and is now going to go ahead and get the Fog Blade Search off of the boots. I have Imperm, Terratop, and I believe E-Telly. I think those are a couple of the cards I saw. So I'm opening Terratop again, just because, again, I'm nice with it. What can I say, right? So he has the Rusty in hand, and, or not the Rusty, sorry, the the Torn Scales in hand, plus the Living Fossil, the 2 known cards in hand, plus Fogblade Droplet. So I start with Imperm on Appaloosa because, you know, might as well. That's going to clear 3 possible interruptions. So yeah, I have double Marble Machine, E-Telly, Pilica, and Terratop. Pilica was the 6th card, which is very unfortunate. Never like drawing the E-Telly targets, but, you know, sometimes the E-Telly targets aren't bad on their own. They're good discard fodder for things like Wheel. And sometimes Pilica outright is just a good normal summon. Low-key, kind of like a double yo-yo. So my opponent is going to take the bait there on the Utopic, or on the Terratop, negating and destroying with Utopic Draco. Well, not destroying, but taking control of it. And then, yeah, basically a free level 3 body from kind of a nice card to have on his field, right? So I do have the follow-up, though, normal summon of Marble Machine. That's going to insert me Tekatomborg here. And I was really debating for quite a minute here on what exactly to go ahead and summon off of this Tekatomborg. I have a few options, obviously. There's Piper, there is Duke, there's Card Turbo, there's even a Red-Eyed Dice play. But just thinking here carefully, what is the best bet? What's the best bang for my buck? And I did take a decent moment to think about this. Because I was like, okay, I got to worry about whatever the back row is. I'm like, I know there's a Fogblade back there. Unsure of what the other card is, but I gotta make sure I can do something that, like, doesn't outright lose to just one Fogblade. So I go ahead and summon out Piper here. And I'm not sure if I actually use Piper. It looks like I do. I do go Piper for 1. And that reveals a Hound. That's actually, low-key, a pretty good Excavate here. Finding a normal summon to have later on in the combo to use for the Rubber Band Shooter is very, very good, especially one like Hound, especially since we've already exhausted Terratop and Marble Machine. Literally the only good normal summon left in the deck, and we excavate it there right off the top. So I think here I do link 2 into Rubber Band Shooter. Yeah, so we go for Rubber Band Shooter, and I know, you know, knowing my opponent and his experience with this deck in the past, I know he'll definitely fire on the Rubber Band Shooter, negating it. So that's exactly what he does. I'm like, all right. He ends up using the drop there. I'm like, okay, so we still have a Fogblade to worry about, but that's going to be pretty easy to deal with what we got set up here. So we're going to E-Telly out this Pilica from the hand, by the way. And then we're going to use Pilica's effect, targeting Wind Tuner in our graveyard and special summoning it. And that's exactly what we have. We have a level 4 Wind Tuner, which is going to go ahead and bring out the Piper. And I'm thinking here, you know what, if my opponent Fogblades this, that's fine, because then we can just link 2 again into Rubber Band Shooter, additional normal, use Hound, dump a Duke, dump anything else, keep playing, right? Or dump Duplicate, make a Cork Shooter, search a Wheel, etc., etc. So we do bring back the Piper. He does not negate there with that Fogblade, and I go ahead and Synchro 7 into Wind Pegasus at Ignister. The card came up very clutch in this event, and I'm very glad I played it as my only level 7 Synchro over something like Clearing Fast Dragon for interactions like this, because I wanted something in the back, or in the extra deck that could interact with back row. And it also doubles as an interruption on field or engrave. So we force out the Fogblade, and that freely allows us to get into double yo-yo, or not double yo-yo rather, but Rubber Band Shooter. And then we additional normal here, the Hound, and now I'm thinking, okay, the options here are pretty limited. I either send a Duke, right, and just bring back the Piper, but that doesn't really get me anything. Or I dump Duplicate, go for Cork Shooter effect, search a Wheel, discard the last card in my hand as a bit of a Hail Mary play. And that's exactly what I do. You know, I know the board has pretty much been played through. We've played through everything right now. It's just a matter of, like, now we need to clear the field and have something put up that can deal with the follow-up that we know he has, which is Seer. And he can pitch off the Torn Scales, which is already huge momentum bringing back Cherubini. And here's the dice roll off the wheel, and we roll a 5, which is insane. Almost, like, couldn't ask for a better roll there. So we go ahead and bring out Duke, and we bring out Marble Machine. And then we're going to go ahead and Synchro 5 into Hagoita here. And then we go ahead and Synchro 8. And this is where I actually think I made a bit of a misstep here. I got a little caught up in a play that I thought was necessary. So what I should have done here is Synchro 8 for Kite Drake, negate the field, use Duke, bring back the car turbo, or not the car turbo, the cork shooter, and make high speed rate clearing rider, and try to at least roll a 2 to clear the field. And then, you know, I could bring back Hagoita as well before I synchro into clearing rider, and that way I have his field cleared. Almost enough damage for a game I would have had there with the whole board cleared, popping 2, bringing Rider up to 45, plus 2,000 from Hagoita, that's 65, plus 1,000 from the rubber band shooter, so I'd be literally 500 off. But I go for double Crystal Wing, which is definitely a mistake. It just hindsight seemed like, well, I mean, I guess not hindsight, but like in the moment it seemed like the best thing, because I was like, I have to put up some form of interruption. But, you know, Hagoita, I was kind of underestimating how good Hagoita is on its own as interruption against this deck. Quick effect, tribute it to make all monsters on the field gain 1 level until the end of the turn. So, in a deck that needs a lot of level 3s, you know, to make rank 3 plays, or to make something like Cherubini, which, I mean, most of the extra deck is just rank 3s or link 2s that require, well, not most link 2s that require 2 level 3s. Obviously, just Cherubini being the only one, but the only thing left in the extra deck right now would be something like probably Unicorn, maybe Borosword, since Access Code was banned, which I think Borosword is probably a more fair access code at the end of the day. Hence why Borosword doesn't see any play, because it's too fair, right? But now my opponent is basically only has to worry about 1 Crystal Wing here, mainly because of the Utopic Future on his field that's protecting at least one thing from a Crystal Wing. And my only other hope too right now is the Wind Pegasus in my graveyard. So yeah, that's, had I gone for the Clearing Rider Hagoita, I would have Clearing Rider access, had Wind Pegasus in graveyard, and had the Hagoita on board, which could have acted for an interruption, especially for something like right here, right? Normal summon, special summon, activate effect, you know, chain Hagoita, and, you know, make everything level 4, which honestly might still give him a play in the extra deck, honestly. But he does use the Graph, or the Seer rather, that was pitched off the Torn Scales. I do negate that. I don't want him to bring out a free link too, because, you know, Borosword is a card in this meta, and I don't want him to be able to do that to get the access to Cherubini, which is also going to be Foolish Burial. He goes for Break Sword. I'm like, I can't even honestly negate this, because if I negate and destroy, then he can, you know, negate with the Utopic and take, or, you know, I'll just destroy the Break Sword, which will still allow him to revive 2 materials at level 4, which is unfortunate. And the other thing too, I guess, about the other play going for the Clearing Rider is that I don't have another level 7 Synchro in the extra deck. If I was playing like 2 level 7s in this build and had like a Fast Dragon available, I could have tagged into Fast Dragon, which would have been really good to stop something like a Borosword, or even stop something like a Unicorn. But on Resolution, we do use the Wind Pegasus to attempt to bounce back the Utopic Draco, and he does obviously negate that, and then he's going to go ahead and resolve Break Sword's graveyard effect, bringing back Torn Scales and Boots, and then he's going to use the Living Fossil to bring back the Renault, link 3 into Nightmare Unicorn, and I believe the Renault should be banished because of the Living Fossil, but he does correct that. Discard Snack for the Unicorn, and that'll trigger Snack effect to go ahead and summon itself back. And he has Wings in graveyard too. That is going to go ahead and bring out Boots, and Torn Scales will trigger. And yeah, this is pretty much just looking like game here. Unfortunate, like I had to play through a lot there, and I think ending on double Crystal Wing was probably just not it. Not clearing the Utopic Future made it very hard for me to deal with the board here, and it is what it is. You know, what are you gonna do? So he's gonna go ahead and go for Borosword. And yeah, this is just pretty much going to be game there. You know, attacking for 3,000, attacking for, I think, 3,000 as well. And yeah, let's attack it, turn to defense, attack again. And yeah, that's going to do it. So Phantom Knight winning there 2-1. It is what it is. We'll be back with a vengeance though. And thank you to our Divine level channel members who are Pony Star, Cadillac 84, Justino, HCH Cyber, and Misfit. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and very generous support of this channel.